Thank you, Mr. Speaker, sir. Mr. Speaker, sir, I thank the honourable member for the question. Mr. Speaker, sir, as a maritime economy, Fiji's shipping sector plays a critical and a vital role in trade and economic development and sustaining everyday livelihood. Mr. Speaker, sir, I apologize. Our re-export figures are evidence that a large majority of products actually go through Fiji and Fijian ports to reach other parts of the region and especially Pacific Island countries. Domestically, Mr. Speaker, so we actually rely on our inter-island shipping as our main transport and connecting outer islands to the main ports and towns and cities. So ensuring that every Fijian has reasonable access to transportation is actually well defined in our constitution. And this is where the government shipping franchise scheme, Honourable Speaker, sir, it actually takes a lead role. In recent years, the scheme has evolved, Mr. Speaker, sir, in terms of vessel capacity and scheduling and routes, and meaning that we're connecting more islands and serving more Fijians. The main objective of this scheme, Mr. Speaker, sir, was to service uneconomical sea routes to maritime islands which would otherwise be unserviced, and to promote private shipping operators and internal traders for movement of goods and cargo, encourage the transportation of the maritime public between outer islands and major urban centers, and incentivize transport operators through the support of government subsidy to service uneconomical routes. Now, Mr. Speaker, sir, when I updated this August House last year, we were serving about 70 ports and 9 routes. And today, Mr. Speaker, so we're actually serving 80 ports with and without jetties for 10 routes with an average of about 15 trips a month. And the routes which are serviced are Lower Southern Lao, Rotuma, Lomaiviti, Northern Lao, Kandavu, Upper Southern Lao, Yasa, Samoala, Yasawa, Northeast Vanuatu, and Benga, Yanuda, and Vatulele. Mr. Speaker, so the newly introduced 10th route, Benga, Yanuda, Vatulele, opened up opportunities for additional 10 ports to be serviced following an assessment that was actually undertaken by the Ministry from 2017 to 2019. The Benga, Yanuda, Vatulele route franchise commenced its services around the 11th of January, Mr. Speaker, sir, 2021, and will continue to provide monthly service to 14 villages. Mr. Speaker, sir, this basically means that 2,050 Fijians in these island communities now have safer and more reliable access to transport services for movement of both passengers and cargo. Mr. Speaker, so if we look back about 5 years or so under this scheme, we completed a total of 1,023 trips with a total of 84,004 travelers utilizing the services. That's a total of also a total of 36,255.89 tons of cargo transported to and from our main ports to the islands, including building materials and groceries and retail shop supplies, fuel and oil. And whilst the return trips actually carry copra and coconuts and seafood and dalo and mats and personal belonging as the main cargo. Mr. Speaker, so on average, we've had a 7% increase in both passenger and cargo movement between 2015 and 2020, and that's about 13,743 passenger movement and 5,957.59 tons of cargo transported annually. Mr. Speaker, sir, the Ministry has conducted a comprehensive analysis of each of the routes from 2018 to 2020, and I can confirm that the different types of ships moving to and from the islands, there is only an average 40% capacity utilization for both passenger and cargo. For example, Mr. Speaker, sir, for a 200-ton cargo capacity vessel, on average there is only 40% usage, which is only about 80 tons of cargo. So furthermore, Mr. Speaker, sir, in our analysis, we've also identified ports that are maximizing the services. For example, in the Northern Lao route, which includes the ports of Yadata, Vanuatu, Dikombia, Tubuda, and Didia. Vanuatu and Didia maximizes the use of vessels registering more than about 800 odd passengers and more than about 300 tons of cargo annually. This can be attributed to the 2 villages having jetties, sir. Another example, Mr. Speaker, sir, Kandavu has about 14 ports in Dravuni, Bulea, Nangara, Matasawalewu, Nukuvou, Lavindi, Kandavu Koro, Vukavu, Soso, Dravualu, Moani, Lebuka, Vadalea and Davingele. The people of Dravuni, Nukuvo and Bulia and Davingele mainly travel using vessels under this particular scheme, as well as for cargo movement through the ports of Davingele, Lebuka, Vadalea and Bukavu, maximize the use of ships. Mr. Speaker, sir, the role of government shipping services in the franchise scheme actually extends way beyond just the movement of persons and goods. When we connect these islands, we're actually providing them access to justice, health and education, the right to economic participation, and the opportunity to integrate into the supply chain by selling their crops and fish and trade in goods and service with the urban centers. Mr. Speaker, so yesterday I spoke briefly about the work undertaken by GSS. So apart from ensuring safe and navigation assistance post-disaster, they're also a key part of the scheme providing services to communities in the Yasawas and northeast Vanuatu. These are highly uneconomical routes that private vessel operators are not able to service. These services, Honourable Speaker, sir, were not available in the past. It's this government, Mr. Speaker, sir, that has made it happen. Had it not been for the continued investment in the particular scheme, it would be impossible for services to be provided to these islands. Even though servicing these routes make essentially no profit for us, we'll continue to serve them as our obligation and our duty of care to our people, sir. And to further strengthen the capacity utilization, the Ministry is actually working closely, Mr. Speaker, sir, with other government agencies to ensure collaboration and increase in activity so as to maximize the provision of services to the island. And I reiterate, sir, the Fijian government is actually committed to taking the services to the people of Fiji, ensuring their most basic needs such as food and medical supplies are consistently provided. But just to allay any fears from the other side of the House, please be reminded that I pay close attention to GSS at all times so that we actually provide these services to our people in the maritime areas. I thank you, sir. I hope that's a good answer, sir.